Welcome back, everybody, to Kick On Rugby Channel. I'm your host, Dane Sherritt. We've got another huge round of URC Rugby done and dusted. Round 4, exciting rugby, some upsets, some unexpected results, some records broken, but as always, beautiful, entertaining rugby, and we love to watch it. A little bit different this week. I've got a special guest joining me, someone who's played Super Rugby for the Stormers, played a number of games for the Toyota Cheetahs, and is now coaching at the University of Stellenbosch for Marties, where some could argue rugby was born in South Africa. Has also got his online skills coaching platform, Skills Lab, on all social media platforms.
Barry. Always got pace, Craig Barry. Beautiful run. Wonderful run. This is beautiful. Craig Barry, brilliant. What a try.
Christmas holidays are about, and what about that as a present to all the spectators in this stadium? Craig Barry, he played Varsity Cup rugby.
Mr. Craig Barry. Before we do get into it, hit the subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the round. How did your team go? How did your predictions go? How did your fantasy go? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. Mr. Craig Barry. How's it, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm good, and I can't complain. I'm just happy the sun is out here in South Africa again.
Lovely.
It was a cold winter, but yeah, everything's good.
Good. It's good to hear. Before we get into it, a big congratulations, Dad to be soon in December. It's come around quick, brother.
Yeah,
Exciting times.
Yeah, really excited about it, and also blessed to have my first child. But yeah, really excited about it. And as you said, it's in December. I think it's a really good time as well, because that's normally when we have a bit of a break from rugby. So yeah, I'll be home a lot.
This is what happens, brother, when you get kids. There you go. Right? So, good luck. Good luck. No, man, it's super exciting, man, and it's unreal. It's unreal that you got a little mini me and you have to look after this like you're the responsible person for someone's life. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You think you're still a child as well, and then you have to look after a child.
The child.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now look, having kids and all of that, being a father is very important, but talking about rugby is just as important. You've hung up the boots recently within the last 2-3 years, and you're still very highly or massively involved with rugby, coaching at Marties, and you've got your Skills Lab coaching platform online. Talk us quickly through that. How's that all been? How's the transition been? You've obviously been enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different beast on its own. You don't get to train a lot as well. That's why I've picked up 1 or 2 kgs. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. The transition has been a lot easier, having been involved still with the game. You know, not moving on to a corporate job or anything outside of rugby. I think that made it a lot easier for me. And I mean, being involved with a club that I've previously played at, and I've learned so much, and I've received so many things from. And working with student athletes can be challenging at times, but I think it's a really special platform to work on, especially when you work with people that still aspire to become professional rugby players, you know, and not just in rugby, but professionals themselves, whether it's in the field that they're studying in. So you get that grit and determination and that buy-in and that commitment towards a certain thing and a goal that you set aside that you want to achieve. And that's really fun to be around. So yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. Then just, I think my platform that I used online is just to evolve a lot of players, you know. There's a lot of youngsters out there that want to play professional rugby, that aspire to become Springboks one day, aspire to become Stormers players, but they just sometimes don't have the platform or the tools in order to get there. So with the experience I've built up throughout my rugby career, I want to share that. And if you think about it in this way, the way the game has evolved, 10 years ago, an X-Factor player is someone that steps someone wants a game. and that was seen as X factor.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the attack is transitioned into where we are now, X factor is more based on consistency. How many times can Cheslin Colby step someone back-to-back weekends? That's now deemed as an X factor player, you know. So just guiding youngsters and guys that's playing professional rugby, you know, to work on those particular skill sets and those soft touches and the things that normally people don't work on. I was having a laugh on Saturday while watching the rugby. If you think about it, a prop 10 years ago was just there to scrum and to clean the breakdown and to lift in the lineup. But nowadays, you know, the way props are, auction chair, Danila Latupo, these guys, they hit line breaks as well. They get offloads away. So the game is evolving every single time. And that also means you have to update your skill set as well.
Absolutely. And that's what I was literally about to say, that was, it's not up to just the wingers now to be your X factor or your centers or, you know, or the fullbacks. Now flankers are stepping backline players. But like you said, props have got the skill set of 5-10 years ago a center would have. Now a prop.
Yes.
One of your like your props, when you look at, and that's across the board, most styles of attack is based around that interplay between backs and forwards. And 100%. Your forwards, your props, the ball playing ability of a prop now is just come leaps and bounds, because those guys are catching the ball two hands in front. You've got a guy on your inside, a guy on your outside. You got the pass out the back.
Yeah.
And coaches are looking at forwards like, okay, you can scrum, but can you ball play as well? Because that's fitting our mold of how we want to attack. And you need to be able to do that. You need to either be able to scrum really well. Like, for instance, like a Frans Malherbe, because he's not really running with the ball much, but boy, scrum. Or you need to be able to scrum well, and then you have that ball playing ability. And that's cool, man, because you're also you're making it accessible for players.
100%.
Some guys don't get the coaching, but everyone 100%. Has Instagram. You know what I mean?
Yes, there you go. Social
being
media.
Able to see that, which is cool. Yeah. I love it, man. URC this round, I'm going to quickly touch on. This is what we want to touch. This is what I've brought you on. You've worked with a lot of these players. You've played against a lot of these players. You've played with a lot of these players. So I'm going to we'll stay on the X factor part, okay? And what everyone thinks is X factor is your backline players, your back three players. And this is something that your whole career is wing, fullback, is really honed in on those positions. South Africa, and if you can nail it down to the Western Cape, the depth in the back three position. Those guys have obviously now gone out to different parts of the world. We're talking URC. We're talking guys like Kurtley Arendse, Caden Moody, Edward van der Merwe, Reinu Smith now even. All these guys, and these guys are just all coming from the Western Cape. Then you're looking at someone like Cheslin Colby as well. Why do you think that is? Do you think it is come down to coaching? Is there a natural flair that comes out of it? Is it because how the boys are coached at school? And then I'd like to have your insight on that, but then also when a fullback catches the ball, when a winger is catching the ball, what are they first looking at? What are we doing? How are these guys just always running through holes? Like it doesn't just come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? There's a process to it.
I think in Cape Town, and I mean you would agree with me as well. We've been playing majority of boys in Cape Town. Have been playing rugby in the street or on the park or wherever you get an opportunity. You know, when you used to go to a club game, maybe your dad takes you to a club game. You're not keenly interested in what's happening on the field. You are so in tune with what's happening behind the poles because there's a little mini game that's happening behind. And I just think the exposure to rugby all the time, every single Saturday, it's like a religion. And I think it's around South Africa, it's exactly the same. We fall in love with the sport and we just want to play the game. And I think that's where the fun and the naturalness comes into play, where a guy develops his skill and ability from a very young age. Once he gets to a professional setup or a semi-professional setup, it's all about how you guide that skill set, you know, and how you nurture that talent and polish that diamond. But that natural ability is always there. Like, I mean, all the players you've just mentioned, I mean, and they're still there's still heaps of them that's in Cape Town that have played Craven Week this year, the provincial tournament for schools, that have played SA schools this year. I mean, it's never ending the amount of talent that South Africa has in terms of those positions, fullback, wings, guys with speed, with stepping ability. So that is evolved, that gets evolved and born from a really young age.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's a lot of other things that also plays a role once a guy gets to a professional setup. It's whether he gets a contract, whether he gets an opportunity to play on a platform, whether he gets seen, and also then injuries that comes along. So there's a few things that need to go your way in order to become a Rabs Maxwane, a Edward van der Merwe, all these type of players that we get the joy of watching on a Saturday on TV. But just on the X Factor spectrum, those are guys that, I mean, out of those guys you've just mentioned, it's probably just Edward that have received the opportunity to play for the Boks. Then it's Kainan, that's a regular, when he's not injured, that's obviously a regular selection in the squad of the Springboks. But then it's still Cheslin Colby, Curtly Arons, Makazola Mapimpi. You understand? Like, it's a never-ending list, which is really a blessing to see of where we are going towards. And then there's a lot of guys that's still going to come through the season, a lot of exciting talent that still needs to be nurtured and given the opportunity on the URC platform to develop into household names. And there's still a lot of them that's still there. I mean, you know, so like the Suleiman Hatzenbergs, Leolan Zas, those are two wingers of the Stormers currently that's really performing well and have been performing well. I mean, they probably lower in the picking order when it comes to the Boks, but I mean, they have the goods to play international rugby.
Yeah, yeah. That you mentioned Rabs Maxwane. I know you've played with him at the Cheetahs. You talked about elusive, and Lions didn't do too well this. I mean, they won away from home. We've noticed with the South African teams in the URC this year playing away from home, really struggling. So Lions pick up the win against the Dragons. But last week's game, he was fantastic. And you commented on one of the things, how elusive he is and how elusive that back three for the Lions is. You throw like Rabs, I don't know where he comes from, but Edward, Western Cape, Quinn Horn, Western Cape as well. Just like that breeding ground, hey, of guys in Western Cape is like just spread across all teams. Then you're looking at this weekend for Benetton, Reno Smith, also coming from Boys Eye. Like, and I've seen him. I remember watching him at school as well. He was a couple of years younger than us, and then coming through, slowly working his way through the grades, playing. I think he played at the Sharks, and then he's made his way obviously over to Cheetahs. Yep, and then made his way over to Benetton. And man, you talk electric like this weekend, just unreal.
But I mean, if we let's take a step back. If you look back 10 years ago, even longer, a guy like Australian winger that up until today I still look at what he used to do for the Brumbies, Joe Roff.
Yep.
That he was probably ahead of his time. Joe Roff, Christian Cullen, those are the guys that worked off the ball, looked for opportunities, inside balls, those type of things. In today's game, in attacking structure, that's a non-negotiable for a winger. He can't just stand on the wing anymore. 15 can't just join the line once when he decides to. These guys are key tools in an attacking system working. But speaking of the Lions, on the weekend on Sunday, they literally, their soft touches, the skills that they have. They scored a try, I think it was a 7 flanker. Is it Jared Kearns?
Yes.
Anyway, he scored a try where he literally, Reinhard Jonker drew the guy, he offloaded. Jared offloaded to the outside. He got the ball again from the inside. He beat 2 defenders and he scored. I mean, that's a 7 flank that had the soft skills and ability to draw a guy 2 versus 1, had the ability for second efforts, work on the inside and score. So I think that's why that is a big contribution towards the Lions' success on outside back, is all the guys working on the inside that has the ability, the distributing ability to give these elusive runners on the outside the opportunity to one-on-one opportunity where obviously they'll beat any guy on any given day. So that's why the Edward van der Merwes can score on the outside, not taking away from their X-factor ability. I mean, Rab showed Darcy Graham last week inside, outside, around him.
Yeah.
I mean, Darcy Graham is not
Yeah.
slow, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is just hats off to what the Lions are currently doing, and how they're developing not just backline players but forwards as well. They have these soft touches where they can put people away, 6 and 7 flanks, creating line breaks. You know, JC Pretorius, Renzo Duplessis, I think is his surname, but these guys create line breaks like it's easy, like a 12 center would do. You know.
Yeah. And I'm loving, and I've written it down here on my notes, the interplay between backs and forwards. And that's what you've just touched on there. A lot of people now, because you're looking at the Springboks, right? And how they've slowly started to change the way they playing. They're bringing in that more attacking style. Siakolisi out in the 15-meter lines. Peter Steph-Toy getting the ball out the back there. A lot of back, like forwards playing behind to the backline players. And you're starting to see it now with Lions. I mean, even the Bulls, where back in the day, it was those guys, those teams were known to be just forward, just Buru up front, and then we're going to kick points, and we might score a couple of tries on the wing. Where now the whole dynamic of that has changed, where you say guys like JC Pretorius, but then you look at, for the Lions, Cameron Honeycomb, Elrich Lowe, all these guys, very strong, can run over the top of you, but have also got little soft skills, can break through the line half gaps and play those offloads. Guys like Ruan Norkia as well. Really, really good. And I'm loving that evolvement that the South African teams are playing with.
I mean, Dane, if you look at the box currently, all of those guys, I believe, you know, as basic fundamentals, so the primers of the game, being able to catch and pass, outside backs being able to take the balls out of the air. And when you look at a guy like Apalele Fassi throughout the whole rugby championship, I think he hasn't dropped one ball throughout the whole rugby championship out of the air, which is a skill that gets looked past, because like that's not something. You understand what I'm saying?
You're a fullback. Yeah, you should do it. Yeah.
But that is a skill in itself, and I mean, I think that's why he fall into the selection favor, because he has that ability and skill, and that's outside of his the attacking threat that he is, the elusiveness that he has, but his basic fundamentals like catch pass. The try Cheslin Colby scored in the corner against Argentina, where he stepped a guy in 2 meters. That was a pass collected of Apalele Fassi, and that was about 10 to 15 meter pass. So that is a primer fundamental that Apalele has to put the winger into space and give Cheslin a one-on-one opportunity. I mean, that doesn't get shown in the headlines or on the front page of the newspaper, but those are basic fundamental skills that a lot of the Boks have currently, and that's why they're working like a well-oiled machine at the moment.
And it's good to see how they, like I said, they've adjusted their way of attack, like all us as pundits or guys looking at the game think they have.
Yeah.
But it's all to create space for these guys. That one-on-one is you're not stopping.
Lethal.
Lethal. Look for the Lions as well, Edwell and Rabs. You look for the Stormers like Leo Lanzas, you just said. All of those guys. Then you look at the Sharks, whoever they put on the wing. You've got Mapimpi there as well. Then you look at who's the other Bulls. You've got Kirkley Orenster and Kanan Moody, whoever they put on the wing.
Yeah.
All these guys all these teams are playing a style of rugby that gets these guys to have one-on-one with their opponents. And like 9 out of 10 times, you're scoring. You're beating the guy and you're going. So it's attractive, man. It's lacquer to watch.
Yeah, it's exciting feeling, knowing that South African teams are playing on the weekend. And I mean, look at the Stormers. They haven't gone well the first few games, but I think if you look deeper into what they are trying to do, if their whole system and team just clicks together on a Saturday, I mean, you're gonna start. We saw it probably 2 years ago, and we saw glimpses of it last year as well. Is when the offloading game and the interplay starts connecting and playing off. You have dangerous individuals like Galant, Damian Willems, Komazulu that must still come back, Mahani Labok. So all those guys, if they interplay and they start clicking and linking with each other, they also start to become a very dangerous team. But I want to give probably my top pick out of the weekend, a guy that I really enjoyed from this weekend. And besides, Rhino Smith put up a performance by himself for Benetton, but old school, world class, Willie Leroux. Wow, There's, I mean, I don't think they make enough highlight packages of him. But I was just amazed at the level of how he drove the Bulls around on the field. The whole first half of the Bulls, I think second half was a bit dismal with all the cards that was dished out. But
Yep.
the way he interplayed with getting Pekin and Moody away, putting the ball on the foot in space for Kirtley to score, his tactical kicking ability, his positional play, all those boring things. Like and especially at fullback, I just had admiration for him on Saturday of how he controlled. Like he didn't look out of place. You couldn't judge his age. You couldn't say he's unfit. He was just looking really sharp, and like getting better, like a fine wine over time. So I'm certainly not looking forward to the day that he retires, because he really, from a masterclass on Saturday, he really moved the Bulls around on Saturday.
It's lovely, man. It's lovely to watch, and I hate how much hate he gets online.
Yo,
because it's him putting himself out there in the sense of him trying things, right?
100%.
8 out of 10 times it comes off and he looks great, but there's 2 out of 10 times it doesn't come off and it looks it doesn't look great. But you have to put yourself out there, and then the amount of times he's touching the ball, just working off maths, you're gonna make mistakes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that time, you talk about his cross kick there. That was a rush defense. They smoked that line onto him, and his ability to be able to get the ball, look up, make a decision, and then execute that in the time space is just it's world class, man. It's beautiful.
It's world class.
Beautiful to watch. So it was a good, like you said, good win for the Bulls there. Bit crazy in the second half with all those cards, lines. Obviously, we touched on lines. You did touch on the Stormers quick. I'm going to put this question to you. You're Dobson, you're Davie Snyman. You've got those 4 guys you mentioned, Galant, Ozulu, Willemse, and Marnie Liborg. You can only pick 2. Who plays 10? Who plays 15?
Yeah, you forget to mention that someone can play 12 as well.
As well. But you're not dropping Dan du Plessis. No, he's too good.
Yeah, he's
too good.
But I mean, that is the beauty of the sport. I mean, Dan has been consistent the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's given a lot of good go forward ball for the Stormers. But that I think that is a good headache to have if you're John Dobson or Davie Snyman, is to decide who you're gonna select. And I mean, all 4 or 5 of those players are world class players to select from. But I mean, the season is really long. The final is probably towards middle next year. So I think the rotation will probably be really good. And then there's obviously a few guys that will be selected for the end of year tour. And then you have all these rest breaks in between that the Boks must have. So they're in a really good space. They're just not getting the results at the moment. But I think that is going to come. On Saturday, they have Munster at home, which is going to be a really exciting game for them. But they'll be back at home. And I mean, everyone in Cape Town is excited to see that.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's really tough, it seems, for South African teams away from home to start the season, not starting off the best like the Stormers and the Sharks. But like you said, at home, different story. Cape Town Stadium, packed out. It'd be good to watch. That was a 38-7, I would say, humping from Edinburgh versus the Stormers. A tough one there for them. Sharks also going down. Where have I got the Sharks here?
They got beaten by Benetton.
Yes, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, but we touched on that as well. Masterclass from Reno Smith. And then you did, and lastly, I'm going to end off with this one. And you're speaking about the end of year tour, Springboks. Obviously, we're not on top at the moment. Ireland on number 1. There's a lot of talk around Springboks. Who's going to get selected?
Isn't it just on paper that they're number 1?
Yeah, that's just paper.
I know everyone believes the Boks are number 1.
The Irish fans are going to come for you now in the comments. Don't say that. So, and we spoke a little bit before this, and I gave this question to you, and you've done a little bit of research, I'm pretty sure. But if you have to pick 1 forward and then 1 backline player that might make their debut for the Springboks in the end of year tour, or just being selected in the squad, or in the near future, who would you?
Yeah, I'll probably go with the last statement, the last part of your statement you made, probably in the near future. I currently look like this whole year. If you look at how the Boks was selected, Russia has given a lot of guys opportunities, you know, to make their test debuts. I think we had that test against Portugal,
Yep.
where a lot of new guys, young up and coming talent, got opportunity to play. I mean, one of the guys that you also really love from the Lions, Cuban Horn, got opportunity to play. Andre Geventer received his opportunity. But a guy that there's actually two loose forwards from the Bulls that I just really admire their work rate and how they play the game. The one is Cameron Anokum. I know everyone has been raving about him, of how good he is, but he's really a talent to look out for, and you know, potentially might get a nod to go on the end of year tour. And then there's Impilo Gumede, that's also been outstanding for the Bulls throughout the Currie Cup season and then last season as well. Then there's a few guys, like I mentioned, Suleiman Hatzenberg, that potentially can cover 13 and wing. It might be a bit early for him for end of year tour, but I think he really delivered in last season's URC and will definitely deliver this year. So those are the guys that you potentially look at. And I would love for Edwin van der Merwe to get another opportunity to go on the end of year tour. But as I said, you know, currently the guys that we had in the squad, the guys that play the rugby championship, and also the guys that were given the opportunity to play in I think it was a standalone test match against Portugal. Those are probably the guys that have been identified that's going to step up, you know, and then fill the boots of a lot more senior guys when they retire or move on. So yeah, I wish we could give so many guys opportunities in the year tour, but ultimately you can only take so much, and hope for so many guys to get opportunity.
Again, it's just the depth you're working with Springbok at the moment. Is
ridiculous.
Insane.
That's ridiculous.
That wraps it up. Well, thanks, Barry. Thanks for your time. We'll definitely look to do this in the future. I love just chatting rugby. It's good. I normally always just talk by myself. It's lovely to get a different perspective as well, and someone who's in and around it, knows the boys that are playing there as well. And there's a little bit more than what I do. I'll give you that. No, a little bit more than what I do. All right, Barry. Thanks for your time, Boot, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. All of the best. Love watching your content. Really insightful. And sometimes when I haven't watched on the weekend, I just open to your channel to see what happened and you know who stood out. But yeah, thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate you, man.
Cheers, boys. And while you're there, let us know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Barry did call the Irish. Hey, you guys on number one. That's only on paper. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought, and we'll see you next time. See you guys. Bye.
Cheers. Cheers.